Trying to explain the digestive system can be quite difficult, and so what we have are a series of models to try and help us. We've got this type of model, which is a hard plastic model, which is about the size of, I suppose, a realistic 10-year-old. And if I take the rib cage off and we have a look, we can see through the system, and we can see the positions of the liver, the spleen, and so on, and we can take out things like part of the digestive system so we can actually see what it looks like. But it doesn't really give a very good idea of what we've got. So there is also this type of model that we can actually have a look at, and this is a knitted model of the digestive system. And it starts off with here a tongue and the esophagus, leading to a full-size model of what the liver would look like. And we have with this a model of the stomach, and with that the pancreas. And as I start going through this, then we've got here miles of small intestine coming out, which is approximately life size and certainly the right length to have a look at. And then we have the appendix, and we have then the full size of the large intestine, and finishing off with the rectum and anus, which have been done slightly different colours so we can have a look at this. This gives students a really good idea of what the lengths of the different organs are, and it gives an idea of the realistic size, because they can hold this up against them and they can play with it and they can measure it and give an idea of what it is. So starting then anus to rectum gives an idea of the size. It gives an idea against the body of what the large intestine really looks like, and then the full size of all this small intestine, which is here approximately 1.5 centimetres in diameter. And we've got here about 4 or 5 meters of the stuff, and that leading to a model of the pancreas to show the proximity of the stomach and the pancreas, and then also the liver and the gallbladder. Both models are fine. Together they give a fairly good representation of what the digestive system looks like and how it actually works. I'm going to tell you the story of the digestive system, the story of the ham sandwich, from mouth to anus. The ham sandwich, which consists of carbohydrate, the bread, fat, the butter, and protein, the meat. This goes into the mouth where it's chewed, it's broken down. Saliva from the surrounding tissues in the mouth secretes basically a mucus to sort of bind the food together, and also an enzyme in there, amylase, which starts work on these chemicals, these foods, and it works on the starch in the bread, and it breaks that down, starting to break it down into amylase. We'll move on from here onto the rest of the system. So our tongue does the work, then this goes down the esophagus where no digestion occurs into this large vat, the stomach. This stomach can actually swell, and in here it's very acidic, this has the property of destroying any bacteria, so it's about pH 2, quite concentrated hydrochloric acid. And in here, the enzymes of pepsin and a few others, but largely which are proteases, they break down the ham, the proteins in the ham, into smaller chunks, polypeptides, and after a few hours they move on from here into the small intestine. Now this is where the work of the liver starts, and the liver has on it a gallbladder which produces bile, and this enters into the small intestine. It has the two properties: one, to emulsify the fats so that they can be broken down, and also it increases the pH to about 7 or 8 so other enzymes can work. And the pancreas comes into work as well, secreting other enzymes: pancreatic amylase, which breaks down the starch into sugars. It also releases some more basically protein digesting enzymes, proteases. One of those is trypsin, and that will break down the polypeptides into amino acids. And also we've got lipases produced, which will break down those fats into fatty acids and glycerol. And as they move down this piece of small intestine, they are digested as small boluses of food, and then those amino acids, the fatty acids and glycerol and the sugars are absorbed by hundreds of thousands of villi, and it carries on and on and on until all the food is digested, when we reach now the large intestine. In humans, the small appendix here isn't used, but in other animals it is used for various different functions. The food then goes into the large intestine, and this now does the last part of digestion, which is to remove the water from the food, which really is sort of called chyme, and it becomes more solid, and the waste, which isn't digested, the fibre and a few other things, ends up stored in the bottom of the large intestine and largely in the rectum, and it's stored there until it's removed from the body via the anus. There we are, the story of the ham sandwich from mouth to anus.